Hello, this is Lolly. I am back to talk about making your own bracelets. Now, I had made this one quite a while ago, and I had promised I would make a tutorial, so I'm just now getting around to that. And so there are some things to consider, whether or not you want to make just one for yourself or whether you want to make a series of them like you're going to do for a craft fair. This material is Kraft-tex, and Kraft-tex, if you haven't used it, is a really strong paper. You can't tear it, but it is machine washable. It will wrinkle a bit, but you can also iron it as well when you're done. Just a heads up, I have not washed it in the machine and then ironed it and then tested to see about shrinkage. So for a bracelet, if you think you might be machine washing it, you might want to make it a little bit longer than what we're going to discuss. So the measurements I'm going to give you are not written in stone because it depends on your comfort level and your wrist size. So here's what I do. I take a tape measure, the numbers that are appropriate to me. I'm going to put the 0 down here and put my wrist over. Kind of fold that over and then bring this around and see what's comfortable. So I'm not going to tell you to make an 8-inch bracelet because it might fall off your wrist. So it, like I said, it depends on you. And I also would not want one for me that was this tight. That would be uncomfortable. So I have to figure out the size that's not going to fall off, but will have room to move around and be comfortable. And the wider of the bracelet you're going to make, then if you're going to make a wide one, I would say give it another maybe 1/4 of an inch because it just doesn't move around as well when it's wide. So if you get where you think you want, and I kind of like this here, and I see it's 7.5 inches. And if you have a centimeter tape measure, do the same thing. And then for me, because, did I say 7.5? I can't cut my Kraft-tex at 7.5 because, as you see, I have to have some overlap here in order to snap it. So I'm going to add an inch and cut Kraft-tex at 8.5 inches. And I would just lay a sheet out on my grid here, and I will measure 8.5 and cut it with a blade. So you can do one bracelet as wide as you want, and this one is just under, it looks like it's 1 3/8, and it's totally up to you. You don't even have to measure, just say this looks like a good length, a width, and then do it there. But if you want to make a whole set of these, let's pretend that this was 8.5 inches, which it's not, that we cut our Kraft-tex like that. You could decorate a whole sheet of Kraft-tex and then cut it into strips for bracelets, and they can be all different widths. So you could do that or just make one by cutting off one strip. Let's get to it. Okay, so I have a roll of Kraft-tex. I know I can't get this all in on the video here. My roll of Kraft-tex is 19 inches wide by 1.5 yards. So this is 19 inches this way. So I cut an 8.5 inch strip. So what you can do, and by the way, they have different colors. They have white, they have craft color, they have all different colors. I thought I'd play with the black one first and maybe do another video with a different color. So I will leave a notation on this video letting you know that if you make a bracelet 8.5 by the dimensions we're going to use here, how many you can get out of one roll, because that will be helpful for you to figure out your pricing. Now this one is 1.5, just under 1.5, so it is 1 3/8. I think I already said that. So if I like that measurement and I want to line this up with my craft mat, I'm going to go up here though. I do need this because I need to be able to see these notches here. So we've got, that's 1 inch, and there's the notch I'm looking for right there. It's one short of the 1.5. Just line my ruler up, and this is a great ruler. This is the Cricut ruler, and it's made so that your hand is protected. And this is the Cricut True Control, I think it's called, craft blade. Now, I am just going to do one at a time for demonstration purposes, but if you were going to do this for a craft fair, I would paint the whole thing and then cut it up into strips, and it would go so quickly. So the first thing I want to do is get this out here, which is my Teflon mat. Put this on there, and let's just play around. I'm going to look at some of my stencils here and see what I think I might want to use. I actually think I'm going to do some stripes here. And what you can do with these is you can actually cut these up and then they're easier to store. Okay. I think I'll put this aside for now. And I'll do this like at an angle maybe. Let me get some paints out. And I know eventually I want to do some white. I'm going to go a little nuts here and try some of these colors that are a little lighter. These, my paints are so old. Okay. Oops, that's a lot. I don't need that much. And the other thing is there's going to be an overlap here as I do the, put the snap on there. So this end here doesn't necessarily have to be perfect, but this is mixed media, so nothing has to be perfect anyway. And the trick with stenciling is to not make it so goopy that you that it runs under the stencil. Oh, this seems like it's getting me some nice coverage, maybe too nice. So I'm going to start patting lightly here and there, like that. You see that? How I'm not getting it 100% perfect, but I am going to line this up. Boy, I got way too much paint there. And see, I'm kind of doing a hit or miss there. There. And just like that, and call that good. Now, I think what I'll do, though, is rinse this off. I need to get a damp rag to have on hand here. So that's not going to interfere with my other colors. Okay. And then I think, you know, the thing about Kraft-tex too is it is very porous, and so it absorbs pretty quickly. Just kind of dab that off. So that's probably pretty well absorbed now. I think what I'm going to do is come around and go the other way with this one, which says it is sunflower. I don't need to pour out as much paint. These are just really cheap makeup sponges. So any stencil you have, just start playing around with it. And if you, the nice thing about it is if you don't like what you're seeing, let it dry and go over it with something else. There. And you can say, well, maybe I think I need more blue here, or I need more yellow here. So it's up to you. And if you want to, you can use a blow dryer in between applications. But again, you probably don't need to because it's so porous. It's going to soak right in there. And these are just acrylic paints. If you want to reuse your sponges, you could put them in a bowl of water to soak. Good enough. It helps to get those cleaned right away. Let's see how we're doing. I think it's pretty good, but I am going to hit it with a blow dryer. Okay. Now, I think I do want to work on some white. And I think I like this a lot. So I'm thinking the white and maybe one other color. I like to use two colors in one stencil. It really adds dimension, and these tend to be thicker. These are the Hobby Lobby's brand of paint. They tend to be pretty thick, sometimes too thick. And so like when I'm doing just painting, if I wanted to paint a solid coat on this to change colors, I could do that. But what I found is if I use these, I have to kind of thin them down a little bit, otherwise they're too thick. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is this white and just really lightly, again, not full coverage, And I'm holding the stencil down, and I'm going to check my work by lifting it. Okay, and while I still have that stencil there, I'm going to grab that mint and kind of go around where I didn't go with the white. And I want it to be light enough that I can see the other colors that I've already stenciled underneath it. There we go. I'm going to turn that around and hit it up again, like maybe here. So now we have 4 different colors, but it's so mild that you're not really sure, you know, where one color is starting and one color is ending there. I like the look of that. You could also have a bin of water for your sponges and your small stencils. Now, another thing I could do for accent would be to come and use this one, but I'm not really sure. I think I might try a darker blue in here. Ooh, so many decisions. I do like layering and layering and layering. Let me give this a hit here to think about what it's going to look like. The other thing you can do is to match an outfit with this. Another thing you can do too, as I said, to stencil a word, but also you could use a die cut of cardstock and Mod Podge it on there. But you would have to be careful with your colors, because at this point, what color of dye would I use? If I use black cardstock, part of it might be kind of lost in the transition there. Okay, I think I found what I want. I like this. This is called their turquoise green. I didn't tell you, this is the ocean green for the Hobby Lobby brand. And just a tiny bit, because it's not going to take much of this at all. And I think I'm going to use this. Again, it might be a mistake. I might decide I don't like what this did, but I could always go over it, right? And as Seth After likes to say, more is more. So I'm going to turn this over and use the other side. Ooh, just a tiny little bubbles here and there. It's really cute. I'm using this a little darker and heavier than I did some of the other paints, otherwise it's not showing up. Another thing to think about adding would be possibly some metallics to that. I think this dark green did give it some oomph that it didn't have before. Well, I lost part of my video, so I want to come back in after the fact and show you what I did next. At this point, when my bracelet was completely dry, I made sure it was completely dry, I gave it a coat of this Deco Art Americana Dura Clear Ultra Matte, and it is a polyurethane ultra matte varnish, so no gloss to this at all. I gave it a little bit of, you know, mixed it up a little bit, and I put a coat on there and I let it dry for 20 minutes. As long as it's dry to touch, you can put another coat on there. So after 20 minutes, I put another coat on, waited 20 minutes again, and then stay tuned and I'll show you what I did next. Okay, that is good and dry. It really doesn't take long. It is so absorbent. So what I want to do, let me get you a white background so you can see what's going on. I think I want to round my corners on this. I'm going to use the Crocodile on the 1/4 inch side. There we go. Gives it a more finished look. Now we need to mark where we're going to put our holes. Now I said this is an odd dimension. It's 1 3/8. So how do you find that? A way to do it without confusing you with all the math is to cut a piece of paper that size and use that to calculate the middle. And I'll show you what I mean. So let me get this out. Let's get a piece 1 3/8. Now this is not probably going to be exactly the same as doing it with a ruler. Almost perfect. And then all you have to do is fold that in half to find the middle. Easy peasy. There you go. Okay, so when I put this on there, I'm going to line that up as well as I can. I do want to mark 1/2 inch in as a way of marking where I'm going to put that hole. Now I'm going to put this on the 1 inch and mark it at 1/2, so it's still 1/2 inch in. That is where my hole is going to go. Now I am using the Cam Snap set, and I will give you the link to that down below. And watch your fingers. There you go. That's 1/2 inch in, and I'm going to flip this over so that I'm making sure that I have these exactly lined up the same way, and mark that again. There we go. Then all we have to do is apply our snaps. So let's get to work on that. And okay, I don't want that bright green. I don't know why I got that out. Okay, I'm thinking probably even just black. Sets right here. So could do white, but I think that would be too bright for my needs. I also have this color blue. I think it's still too bright. Maybe not. I think it looks really good. I think I will do the blue. Adds a little extra color. Remember, you need 4 pieces. You need one that looks like a thumbtack. Okay. Actually, 2 that look like a thumbtack, sorry. And then you need, that's 2 the same. Here we go. 1 convex, 1 concave. And then I need to look and see which side I want to be on the outside. And I think this one, because I got a little extra paint there I didn't want. So I'm going to put the pretty side out here, like that. And then affix one of the other pieces on there. The black part of my tool goes on the pretty smooth side. Squeeze it with one hand. And now I need to put this on through the bottom and do the same thing again. Okay, and there you have the bracelet. Okay, now I have 2 coats of the Duraclear on here, and you'll notice with the Kraft-tex you can kind of go like this and kind of help it to have a memory of where it's going to, you know, be curved around like that. You could also sign the inside if you want this as an art piece. Something else I have thought about, let me get my paint shirt off here. I was thinking, of course, you could stop right there, but I decided I wanted to do a little something extra, and I know it's going to be weird, but I want to play around because I want to see how it's going to look, and that is to use some decorative eyelets throughout here, maybe in the center of some of these. I just think it would be interesting. Okay, so I am going to use the larger of the 2 punches here. I need to get this out of there. And if you don't know what settings to use on either Crocodile, this one or the Big Bite, you can always, I have a video I can show you. There we go. So I'm going to go right in the middle of one of those circles right there. I'm just pursuing something that I think is going to be interesting. And I'm doing the large ones. This is why I wanted to get my my snaps in first to know where I was going to go with this. And maybe that one there. It's very close to the edge. Okay, now I'm going to change my settings on this, and that was the 3/16. So I'm going to set it to A1. There's the 1. there. Right. And I'm thinking just some silver eyelets would be fine. White would be kind of cool too, or even black. I do have some black ones. I got these at a thrift store. I'm going to put that in there and see what I think. I'm going to try a black one. It's very bright, and I'm going to try a white one. Ooh, that's very noticeable. And I'm going to try a silver one. And the other thing is I could do more than one color. There's the silver. There's the white. There's the black. I think the white is, wow, it's really striking. If I did all white, it would be really noticeable. Oops, there goes that. So I think I'm deciding between the black and the silver at this point. You could use a contrasting color too. I think I'm going to go with the silver. And another thing you could do would be to use different sizes of the eyelets. You can use the 2/16, the 3/16 and the 1/8, just for variety. And you want to make sure that this is nice and smooth on the bottom. So even if after doing this, if it's still not smooth, what I do is I lay it on a towel on a hard surface, and I just kind of tap it with a hammer to make sure the back is smooth, because you don't want it scratching the skin. Okay, I really like that. I just think that is so fun. I don't know why, I was just one of those ideas that just got stuck in my head, and I thought I have to try that. You see how easy it is to snap that on? The eyelets, I think, add a lot of interest. There still is plenty of room. I could add smaller eyelets here and there, whatever I want. I like the randomness of it. Really cool. And I do have outfits that this will work perfectly with. And I think this is more of an eye catcher than if I hadn't done those eyelets in there. So what do you think? I had some really weird thinking that if you did eyelets across the bottom, you could hang charms on them, but now I'm not so thrilled with that idea, but I do like this entirely. Thank you so much for watching. I will be doing another one of these bracelets, cuff bracelets, and I will also give you the math of how many bracelets of this size you can fit into one roll of Kraft-tex, and I will give you a link down below to where you can get your own Kraft-tex.